There we go. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today, Trina?
I'm okay. I'm honestly having a little bit of a down day. Like everybody, I think
Oh,
has been going through some ups and downs, but
for
just
sure.
my kind of down days. But otherwise, I've been good. Got a lot to be grateful for, honestly. Why
Yeah.
don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, guys. I'm Emily. I am also known as Emma, depending on, yeah, that sounds terrible. I'm Emily or Emma, depending on what makes you more comfortable. And yeah, I'm one of Trina's models, having a great time, missing being painted like crazy. And that's what I'm doing for now.
Yeah, yeah. And what are you up to right now?
So I'm my other job. I am a mental health therapist, but I'm also a care manager. So I take care of people with disabilities. I make sure they have all the services they need, and if they need people to watch them or medicine. Right now, I'm just making sure everybody is safe and healthy.
That's amazing. So you're an essential worker right now in
Yes,
the city.
yes, I
Yeah.
am an essential worker. I have all the credentials. Right now, the only hiccup is a lot of these people are immune compromised. So a lot of residential placements are not allowing anybody to come to the home to protect the people. So a lot of my work right now is over video chat, and I'm doing video check-ins with a lot of my clients.
That's great. So you're working from home?
Yes, I am fortunate enough that I'm able to still maintain my regular work day. I work 8 to 4 every day, and I work from home.
That's amazing. And you've got beautiful children and
Yeah,
so you're in Queens, right?
yeah,
So that is the epicenter. People have been
of
saying
the
it's like
entire world.
yeah, like 7,000 people in the first few weeks got in like 7 blocks or something, right? Got the COVID-19 in Queens. So what's that like right now? I mean, that's intense. Are you
Um,
what does that feel like? What's like the temperature in Queens right now? Like what does it feel like?
So it's kind of weird. I chose to start isolating a couple of weeks ago, maybe a little bit before other people. I chose to keep my kids home and things like that. And I feel like maybe I don't have the full, I guess, effect of things sometimes just because I've been home, I've been with my kids, I've been really busy with work. My workload has tripled in regards to outreach. So
Mhm.
I haven't had, I guess, the same time on my hands that other people have had, which is a good thing and a bad thing because it's also meant that I haven't really had the chance to process things.
Mm.
Um, so the weekends can get really heavy for me. Um, but it's hard. I have family who work in hospitals in Queens. One of the hospitals that has one of the most cases in the world, really. Um, and it's been difficult. There definitely aren't enough supplies for everybody. Again, I feel like I just really lucked out. I'm a regular bulk shopper, so I tend to have a lot of bulk food and Lysol and cleaning products anyway.
Mhm.
So I didn't have that same panic that a lot of other people had, which
Mhm.
again, I was fortunate. So
Yeah, for
but
sure.
definitely, yeah, no, I've seen other people and I see the stress and um, you know, toilet paper and everybody's freaking out. And I've been fortunate that I haven't had those worries. Um, but I think it's very difficult to watch other people have those worries.
Yeah.
And there's this kind of catch 22 that goes on where sometimes I forget that I have to allow myself to be upset as well, because I feel guilty for feeling bad at all just because I'm in a much better situation than most people. My kids are home, we're safe. We haven't been exposed, even though even next door, there's people getting sick, and I was just very careful from the beginning. So there's been very little exposure. I was prepared with food. I was prepared with the Lysol and the Lysol wipes and everything like that. I already had it. So there was no panic mode for me. It was just, okay, now sit down and hunker down. But I do find myself feeling depressed. And even with my two children, and my best friend made a decision very early on to also quarantine with me. He lives alone, and he decided that he was going to help me with my kids during this time because he was out of work, but I wasn't. So he's been helping me with my kids and stuff. So I have company. I have my children. We're safe. We're happy. I have a steady income coming in, and a lot of things. But even with all those things, I find myself getting randomly periodically depressed.
Same.
And as a mental health practitioner, I know that I need to allow myself to feel sadness, to mourn, that the life that I had is no longer there. But as a person with faults, as an imperfect person, I start getting down on myself, and I start beating myself up about feeling depressed. And I start convincing myself that maybe I don't have the right to be upset. And then, of course, the mental health therapist's voice comes back, and it's like, everybody has the right to process and be hurt right now. And that's one of the things that I'm struggling with. And I'm sure there are other people who are just struggling with that, asking themselves, if I'm healthy, if I'm okay, if everyone around me is okay, do I even have the right to be upset? And the answer is yes. Yes, you do.
Yeah. Yeah. There are, I think, I do think that like a lot of people are having a tough time right now. And I think that that's really good advice, to just allow yourself to feel what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, how are you coping with fear? Are you experiencing that? Or is it more just like the loss of what you were feeling before, or like your life before?
So my fear is not for me, and thankfully it's not for my children, because they're home, they're safe. I've, you know, but as I stated before, I do have family who work in hospitals. I have very close friends who are like family, who are police officers, and as first responders, it's very scary to know that these people who are very close to me are exposed to this at such a high level. One of my best friends, who I often call my sister, is actually working Corona, which is ironic. Ironically, literally the most densely populated place that has COVID in the world. They're having daily what they call DOAs, dead on arrivals, because it's a very high population of immigrants, and some are documented, some are not, and they're not going to hospitals for fear of, A, because they can't afford it, and B, because they're in fear of being, reprimanded by the government in terms of their status. And they're just getting to homes and people are dead. And it's been really, really difficult. Even before this, I've always been aware of those kind of things. I think us as a group, especially, our team, we're so into some of these causes.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of see a cause that was already near and dear to my heart take such a turn and validate, I guess, what we've been fighting for and speaking against at this time, that's been really sobering. Just the lack of protections. Like I said, my mom works in a hospital. She's a clerk.
Yeah.
So everybody complains that the doctors and nurses don't have PPEs, and I think it's terrible. But then when you go lower down the totem pole, you know, the cleaning people, the clerks, the people taking the blood, who are not doctors and nurses, are deemed even less worthy to have the protective equipment.
Wow.
And it,
Wow.
it's really difficult, because I want to, you know, my mother specifically is making maybe a quarter of the salary that some of these nurses who deserve it all the way are making. And she has almost the same level of exposure as these nurses and doctors, with a fraction of the salary and a fraction of the protection, but the
Sure.
same, almost the same amount of risk.
Yeah. Yeah, man. My heart really goes out to, I have family, as you know, also that are working in ER, and my mom's a respiratory therapist, and even a couple of people on our team are like working in the hospitals doing intake right now, and my heart just really goes out to everybody that's doing that. And they're such heroes, and they deserve to get paid so much more money,
Yeah,
than they're getting paid right now, to take,
absolutely.
a risk to keep us all hopefully alive and on, that's
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. I know that I've had moments of really like of shutdown. A few times a week I'll have like deer in the headlights, like, oh my God, like trauma, where it hits me and I'm like, I am frozen. I am literally feeling frozen right now. I don't know how to even move forward, with the day from
Yeah.
from feeling, just like the concerns. And I mean, I was sick even, so it's not even like I might have even had, there was no testing available, so I don't know if it was specifically COVID or not, but I just, even being sick during this time while being on the road,
Very
uh,
scary.
I've had a lot of like personal scares with my own health, but now I'm having a new wave of scares of like, oh gosh, I could get sick again, or it could be worse, or people I know could get sick. And it's just like, I think once I move out of that, then I get kind of, crap, now what do I do? Like, really? I mean, I'm watching Tiger King. I'm, trying to do some
Like
pain
the,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
But like, how do you kind of, it's just such a really weird moment. And sometimes I'm feeling real high. I'm like, oh, this is a great moment. We get to shift the world around. Like, things were out of balance, and
yeah,
now I feel like, oh, we get this beautiful opportunity to bring things back into balance. There's so much to be grateful for right now. I'm not on a respirator. Nobody that I know and love is on a respirator. That's
yeah,
huge, just like small, but even the mind shift of like, productive has been work, and you're working. And a lot of people I've been talking to have been like, I'm working 3 times as much as I ever did. There's no like resting at home business right now. So I hear
yeah.
that. But a lot of people are unemployed or can't work while they're on shelter at home orders.
Hmm.
And it's kind of this weird, like, being productive to the community is actually just staying home doing nothing. And that's a really weird feeling as an American, with our mentality.
Yeah,
I'd rather
right.
have
Definitely not thought that.
it's a weird cultural shift to be like, every day that you don't go outside and endanger somebody else's life, or don't, expose yourself to more risk, you are being productive. That's a really
Right.
weird mind shift. Anyways, I'm rambling, let me get back to some questions. Um so I guess, you touched on this a little bit, but what's your advice for our maybe fans that could be watching this or whatever? Like, what's like one positive self-care thing that they could do, or a few things that they could do that could like help them maybe during this really weird traumatic moment?
Well, For sure.
As a person that works in
100%.
mental health, like,
Is to allow
what do
yourself
we
to
do?
remember. Yeah, well, the number one thing is our society has an issue with, they think sadness is a sickness.
Mm,
And sadness is not a sickness, it's a natural and normal emotion.
mm,
And I think that one of the most important things you can do is take a moment to experience and actually feel the sadness.
mm,
I know that doesn't sound like a positive thing, but it's probably the healthiest thing you can do right now,
mm.
is allow yourself to mourn. Um, don't get stuck there, have a minute, make sure after you have that minute of all the negativity, you kind of create a mantra for yourself of why you should be positive, but never, never, never put additional stress or additional hurt on yourself by telling yourself you don't have the right to these feelings. Most mental health professionals right now, if not all, are agreeing that this situation is a trauma for everybody.
Yeah, worldwide.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is the legit definition of a trauma, and pretending that it's not trauma is going to do a lot more harm than good.
Mhm.
Take the time to reset and forgive yourself, and all those memes about, if you haven't learned a skill or done something that you said you were going to do, and like those things
Right.
that kind of shame us
Right.
into saying, what are you doing with this time and how are you progressing, and it's not natural to keep growing. Even as an adult, we reach a height and we stay there. At that point,
Yeah.
we have to grow with our souls.
Right.
And so if a person continues to grow past a certain point, it's considered a cancer or an abnormality. And
Interesting.
it is. I mean, if you think about it, giantism or like tumors,
Right.
that's abnormal growth where you grow beyond, so don't force yourself to have abnormal growth. Don't push abnormal growth on yourself. If there's natural growth and there's real growth, take it in, accept it, cultivate it, but do not push abnormal growth. That is probably the worst thing you can do. Like I said, abnormal growth is cancer, and we don't need cancer.
Right. I love that. That's such a beautiful metaphor for,
Yeah.
because there's so much pressure. It's like cultural pressure to be productive. I think people just don't know what to do. I think Americans in particular don't know what to do right now.
Well,
And in evolution, we look and it's not, it's like, we hear like survival of the fittest or whatever, and that's true. But it's also like the fittest is usually the being that's able to adapt to their environment, right? It's not like strongest like we think about, especially New Yorkers, right? We're always like,
yeah,
whatever, I can take you.
New York strong.
Yeah, yeah. But what's really been New York's strength has been its adaptability. If you look at 9/11, if you look at Hurricane Sandy, if you look at,
Absolutely.
just New York has survived a lot and adapted.
Yeah.
So how can people become more adaptable, I guess, during this period? Like how do they adapt? How do you mentally make that shift?
Mentally, you need to figure out where you are, where you want to be. But again, not pushing, if you're not ready to get there, don't go there. You don't jump in a pool if you don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
But part of being able to jump in the pool is kind of figuring out what skills you need to learn. So if you do need to go out there and you do need to adapt, you kind of need to say to yourself, what do I need to adapt? Sometimes, like I said, before you jump in the pool, you need a bathing suit, you need goggles, or, maybe you need floaties.
Right.
It's really
Right.
figuring out what you need before you get there.
Right. Right.
And I would definitely recommend, people just make a list of your strengths and saying, what can I do with that? You know, MacGyver your life a little bit. Say,
Right.
hey, I have
Right.
a rubber band and a toothpick and, you know, this little fork. What can I make with this? You know, and we all have our own set of skills.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of us can talk. Some of us can listen. Some of us can draw. Some of us can appreciate art. You know, some of us can't draw for our lives, but we can say, hey, I really like that piece of art that you did. And figuring out how you spread love, how you spread growth. And it might not always be the way that you want to or the way that you think you should, but everybody has a skill or something. And like I said, there's no better way to put it than just MacGyver the shit out of your life. Take those little skills you have, the ones that might seem meaningless or silly or ridiculous, and figure out how to put them together to make something work. And reach out to people who know you. You know, there's definitely been people in my life who will do small things that maybe they didn't realize were very big to me. And I'll say, hey, you know, this moment was really, really big. And it turns out me saying that was big for them. You know, and just taking those moments and work with somebody who knows you. And if you don't have anybody who knows you, that's okay. You know, look in the mirror, have a conversation with yourself. Sometimes you need expert advice. It's okay. You know, all these kind of things that might seem crazy on a normal basis, you know, kind of work, you know, talking to yourself if you need to and things like that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Journaling, but I'm sure people have thought about things like journaling, but I love the idea of just looking at yourself in the mirror and be like, bitch, get up.
Yeah.
Come on.
For sure.
I was thinking about, thank you so much for, I had no idea we were going to go this direction, but thank you so much for talking about all that. It's even personally very helpful. And I appreciate your expertise.
Thank you.
And I was thinking about some of the body projects that we've done together and how our practice, our artistic practice, is one of discomfort. You're holding positions physically, mentally, sometimes even emotionally. We're putting ourselves in situations that are uncomfortable, right? Where you have to learn to breathe through it and how to mentally focus, but you're present with the discomfort, facing it head on, and then participating it in order to create something beautiful. And as a person who is on the practicing that, who's pushing through the discomfort of standing still for very long periods or being tightly packed together with other bodies, right? That could be really intimidating or uncomfortable, especially in a moment of like where people are so afraid of each other, right? That mentally has messed with some people's heads and stuff. But how do you, through the body painting practice, even and some of the artwork we've made, like what skills have you developed that maybe you could share with people of how to kind of push through and stay present with like the discomfort?
For sure. It definitely goes back to sometimes taking inventory too. Sometimes when I'm standing there for a really long time, you know, I do kind of like do like a scan, like head to toe, like where am I feeling uncomfortable? Where am I feeling comfortable? You know, the places I'm feeling comfortable, why am I feeling comfortable? And can I extend that to somewhere else? You know, when you're good at something, sometimes you have to ask yourself, why am I good at that?
Right.
And, you know, so it's like, okay, maybe I feel good here because there's a different support system here that I don't have somewhere else. And I say support system and it sounds emotional, but I do mean physical too. When I'm body painting, and sometimes having a ball under your foot seems like an insignificant piece of support, but might be just enough support to alleviate some pain on my joints. You know, definitely, like you said, being present and in the moment. I did read this book a long time ago, which a lot of people have read, The Power of Now. And, you know, in the book, they talk about how 90% of the time you actually don't have a problem. Your problems are either behind you or in front of you. And in those moments, you don't have a problem. And so when I'm body painting, it sounds weird, but sometimes I think about that too. Like in this moment, I don't really have a problem.
Right.
And,
It's
you
just
know,
your present reality.
exactly.
Right.
And, you know, as long as I'm present and in this moment, I I am like, I'm enjoying the moment. I'm enjoying the connection with, you know, with you as a body painter. I mean, I miss that. You know, think about now the world we're in where people can't even touch each other, like you said. And body paint is such an intimate, it's such a loving experience. It's such a physical experience that, you know, definitely once this is over, it's something that I look forward to. But there's also something to be said for being able to have a lack of protection. For a lot of us, our clothes are protection. And, you know, just in general and, you know, just in the science of it, you know, our clothes protect us from, you know, sunburn, or they protect us from getting scratched or, you know, getting infected or getting dirty and things like that. But, you know, for some of us, our clothes are also an emotional protection. And there is something to be said when you're being body painted and you don't need or have that protection and being able to be okay with it. I don't know how long it's going to take the world to be okay without protection, you know, and gloves, masks, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's, who knows how long it's going to take, you know? So the idea that body paint was giving us this completely way to be comfortable with no protection kind of translates into these times too, because if we don't have gloves or masks or whatever, you know, you kind of remember those moments where you had no protection whatsoever and you got through it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's super true. I love
Yeah.
that. Beautiful. Thank you. Um, are you are you staying creative? Do you have any time?
Yeah. So my friend who's been staying with me is also an artist, and I've been really fortunate that we're kind of both really handy. And you know, so we've redecorated my house, we've painted, we've I couldn't find a lamp that I liked, so I took apart an old lamp and combined it with a new lamp, and we took out the wires and restructured it and rebuilt it and glued and, you know, did a ton of things. We've made picture frames because I didn't like any of the picture frames that were online to buy, so we made them ourselves and glue, and, you know, I can do anything with a glue gun. I'm
Yeah, this
pretty
whole sewing your
handy.
own mask thing, I'm like, well, this is
I
how
made masks
I
with,
can't use a sewing machine to save my life.
oh,
But
I
a
made
glue
my
gun.
masks with a glue gun. I did make masks with a glue gun.
I love it.
Yeah. So
Well,
I mean, it was pretty easy.
that's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's really interesting. Like domestic life has always been this like, you know, female gendered sort of concept in our like American society. And as you know, like I've been processing a lot about like the shift of the idea of domesticity because we all are stuck inside. And then on top of that, like the items that we own have become, you know, like what is valuable. Nobody gives a fuck about a diamond ring right now, but you have a thing of toilet paper and, you know, I'm yours for life. Like, it's just
Oh yeah, I'm looking around
value
my
is
house
changing.
and
Consumers,
I want to throw everything away.
yeah, yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it? How,
It's great.
yeah,
That part of it is great. I'm like, I've been saying to myself, yeah, I want to get rid of stuff. This situation is like, you know what? I don't need this. Yeah, I've definitely been able to let go of things that in the past I wasn't able to let go of.
for sure. I feel the same way. I've been doing that where I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, I guess that, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's this addiction to buying too. that like there's this really something that's really that I've discovered in myself, this sensation that feels really gratifying when you add to cart.
Oh yeah.
Be like, ooh, I'm getting like a Christmas present from Amazon. I wonder what it is and when it will come. I'll just keep buying things and nobody will know. It's a surprise. It's
Yeah.
really gross. And obviously because of the situation, we've been not purchasing things and just going to the grocery store like very, very, very rarely, you know.
Mhm.
And yeah, I feel like it's an interesting examination of consumerism. I don't
And
know.
we're bored. And let's face it, Amazon is really good at, putting those ads
Yeah,
right on our Facebook feed
yeah,
that are exactly the things that we've been thinking about. And,
yeah.
it's,
Oh, I could get
yeah,
that. And it's like,
they're
no,
really good.
I can't get that right now. I'm
Mhm.
not actively doing anything. I can't be, unwise with money. I've really budgeted down. It's been interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's Easter weekend / Passover / other things. Is
Yeah.
it Ramadan? I don't know.
Is it what?
I don't actually know. Is it Ramadan now?
Ramadan? I don't think so. I think Ramadan is be
Later.
wrong.
Okay, well, I don't know. But anyways, it's holiday weekend. Are you celebrating? Are you guys doing anything?
To be honest, no. We're just really going to take the time in the house just to kind of relax. We may do a Zoom conference with our family on Sunday, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we'll just see where everybody is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. It's good to take it. I don't really like do you have any Easter traditions or anything that you usually do?
Well, I have kids, but my kids are now they're getting older. They're teenagers. So some of the traditions I had um, they don't really make the same sense that they used to make, like the Easter egg hunts at my parents' house, and things like that. Um, so I think this is actually the first year that my 12-year-old is not going to have an Easter egg hunt. So
That's
that's,
good.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll hide something in the couch.
There you go. I heard there's like a Easter egg hunt on Minecraft now this year, which is kind of cool.
Oh,
Um, Matt's gotten really into Minecraft because his daughter's into it. So he's been building worlds. I'm like, that's not actual productivity. Like it's just been this weird mental thing. It is totally. But it's just weird, it's a form of connection. But it's just
mhm.
yeah, Easter egg hunt on Minecraft, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, I don't want to keep you anymore, but thank you so much. How can people find you? What is your social media links and all of that?
Oh, you can find, I'm on Instagram. It's my Emma Vega. That's it. Pretty simple. You can find me on Insta, and that's pretty much the only place you can find me right now. I, you know, not taking on too many new clients, but we'll see what happens. I know everybody kind of needs somebody to talk to and things like that, but still working with the body paint stuff. It's, definitely a passion, and I love doing it, and I look forward to getting back to it. God,
Great. I personally cannot wait to paint you again. This is going to be the biggest party, the biggest body paint party when we can hang out together again.
yeah,
I miss New York. I can't wait to get back. Well, have a good holiday, and thank
you
you
too, Trina.
enormously
All right,
for your time and your advice. And yeah.
not a problem. I'm here anytime. After 4.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Get some
All
more
right. Well,
questions for me. We'll do it again.
okay. Let's do it again. I love it. Let's absolutely do it again.
All right.
Well,
Have
have
a
a
good
good
one.
holiday. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.